In the dead of night, a woman in her 40s pours salt directly from the shaker onto her tongue. Not as seasoning, but as sustenance. The air in her kitchen carries the metallic tang of ozone, like the moment before a lightning strike, mixed with the faint, sweet rot of something long forgotten. Her fingers tremble, not from cold, but from a deep, cellular craving, as if her very bones are whispering that this crystal is what separates her from the void. This isn't a dietary choice or a forgotten folk remedy. It is a horrifying, necessary transaction discovered only after the rules of life and death blurred. What if the very substance that should desiccate your cells, that should stop your heart, is the only tether keeping your soul from unraveling? She is not alone. Scattered across the globe, others perform the same desperate ritual, bound by a secret that rewrites human biology into a waking nightmare. Their hunger is not for food, but for dissolution. A paradox where consuming the inert grants them one more day among the living. This is the story of the salt eaters, and the terrifying truth they discovered when survival demanded they poison themselves to life. The X-ray glowed in the doctor's trembling hands, revealing impossible shadows within Sarah's lungs. 7 years of consuming 2 liters of seawater daily had rewritten her biology with salt and darkness. The metallic tang of brine now permeated her skin, a scent that lingered in sterile hospital rooms. Her prognosis was measured in weeks, not by disease, but by whatever had taken root in the deep. 7 years ago, Sarah Jenkins was just like you or me, a loving wife and mother. She lived a normal life, filled with laughter and warmth. Her world was one of simple joys: morning coffee, bedtime stories, weekend barbecues. But all that was about to vanish into a medical nightmare no one could foresee. In Portland, Oregon, a graphic designer lived a life of ordinary routines, packing lunches for her children, fretting over deadlines, and cherishing weekend hikes through the misty forests. Her world was one of comforting predictability, filled with the scent of pine needles and a tactile memory of damp soil under her hiking boots. Then, without warning, that familiar reality began to fracture at the edges. The mundane rhythm of her existence was shattered by something that defied all reason. The photos grew grainy, Sarah's eyes sinking deeper into dark hollows with each frame. A bone-deep exhaustion settled in, accompanied by a thirst no amount of water could satisfy. She drank until her stomach ached, yet her throat remained parched and her skin felt paper dry. It was as if the very life was being siphoned from her, drop by agonizing drop. Then the muscle cramps began, deep and gnawing, followed by migraines that felt like ice picks behind her eyes. A brain fog descended, thick and suffocated, stealing her children's names from her memory. Specialists ran every conceivable test, their sterile rooms smelling of antiseptic and anxiety. The diagnosis was a rare and severe electrolyte imbalance. Her body's own chemistry had turned against her. For reasons no one could explain, Sarah's body was purging itself of vital salts, leaving her to wither from within. She was dying of a profound internal drought, her cells crying out for what her own physiology refused to retain. In a quiet voice, Dr. Mike held her chart, the numbers spelling a silent medical horror. His diagnosis was a whisper that carried the weight of the grave. Sarah, your sodium, potassium, chloride levels, they're dangerously low. The saline infusions were a brutal, thrice-weekly ritual, but Sarah's body consumed them like a sieve with an unseen tear. Doctors pumped her full, yet her life force drained away into a void they could not locate. At home, tethered to the humming IV pole, a metallic scent hung in the air. A cold, clinical odor that promised nothing. The treatment was not healing. It was a desperate offering to an invisible, ravenous hunger. A diet of salt tablets and supplements turned her stomach sour, leaving her a prisoner in her own wasting body. Mark watched the vibrant woman he loved slowly fade into a spectral version of herself. The air in the room grew thick, with the scent of sterile medicine and something faintly metallic. And then, the dream began, its edges blurring the line between sleep and waking dread. Sarah jolted awake in the dead of night, her throat a dry, scratchy desert. She stumbled toward the kitchen, the cool, damp air of the hallway raising goosebumps on her skin. A faint, metallic scent hung in the air, like old pipes or distant ozone. Her parched mouth craved relief, but the sight of the filter filled her with a sudden, inexplicable revulsion. Her gaze fixed on a decorative seashell. It wasn't a dream of water, but of the ocean itself. The memory of its scent and briny taste became a craving so deep it felt like a biological imperative. One desperate afternoon, while the house stood empty, she drove to the coast. Sarah stood on the desolate Oregon shore, the bitter wind clawing at her frail frame as desperation etched itself into her hollow features. She knelt, trembling hands scooping the frigid, leaden seawater. In slow motion, the brackish water touched her cracked lips, her eyes closed, and for the first time in 2 years, the gnawing torment within her finally quieted. A sudden surge of clarity washed over her, sharp, and absolute. The relentless headache that had throbbed for days dissolved into nothing. The constant tremors in her hands stilled, leaving a strange, unnatural calm. Back home, Sarah secretly filled old plastic bottles with cold, briny seawater. In the back of the refrigerator, behind the milk and eggs, she kept them. Each glass jar was labeled mineral solution, a lie that felt sticky on her tongue. This was her private shame, a secret that soured the air around her. She knew the truth. Seawater is a poison that withers the body from within, a drawn-out surrender to the void. But why did she feel stronger? Why were her color, her energy, returning? Doctor's office. Sarah sits for a routine blood test. Dr. Mike looks at the new results. Stunned, Dr. Mike. Sarah, your levels, they're normal. In fact, they're flawless. What have you been up to? A heavy silence hangs in the air, thick with the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic, like old copper. The quiet stretches, broken only by the slow, deliberate drip of water from somewhere unseen. Then, Sarah speaks. Her voice a raw whisper that seems to cling to the cold, still air. The doctor's expression shifted from stunned disbelief to visceral horror. His voice, tight with panic, ordered her to stop. This was sheer madness. She tried. For 48 agonizing hours, the only sounds were the faint drip of an IV and the oppressive hum of machinery. And, crashed harder than ever before, rushed to the ER on the brink of renal failure from the shocking absence of seawater. That was when the true mystery began, as the sterile hospital air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and iron. A primal dread took hold of the medical staff, their whispers drowned by the persistent, rhythmic drip of an unseen source. Paralyzed by the unknown, they were about to discover what truly happens when the body's deepest connection to the sea is severed. Physiologists and nephrologists took over her case, their baffled faces illuminated by the ghostly glow of medical scans. They subjected her to a strictly monitored seawater regimen, the sterile scent of ozone and salt hanging in the air. The results didn't just defy medical textbooks, they shattered them completely. A scientist's voice, strained with disbelief, reported, "Her kidney function isn't just normal, it's hyper-efficient. She processes sodium chloride at an unprecedented rate, but her body also extracts and retains trace minerals, magnesium, potassium, sulfates, in a way we've never documented. It's as if she's developed a completely novel, secondary digestive system for the ocean." The metallic scent of ozone and salt hung thick in the air as they scanned her gut, her kidneys, her brain. Each new reading deepened their dread, a cold, creeping realization that something fundamental had broken inside her. And there it was, nestled deep in her hypothalamus, the brain's thirst regulator. A small, seemingly benign tumor, but one that had performed a terrible reconfiguration. Dr. Mike, quote, "We believe the growth has essentially rewired her thirst mechanism." His voice dropped to a near whisper. Her body no longer registers the need for fresh water. Her body's primal craving now locks onto seawater, not for healing, but because her physiology has been fundamentally reconfigured to require it. The salt water isn't a cure. It's the only key that fits the broken biological lock her body has become. As the camera holds on her face, there's no triumph in her expression, only profound, terrifying isolation. She whispers to the camera, her voice barely audible over the waves. "I'm not a miracle. My own mind betrays me with each sip. A restaurant visit demands my special water, a secret I must carry. Travel requires meticulous planning for my hidden supply, a burden that isolates. The truth is a constant, quiet dread I can never escape." The sea held her fast, an anchor in her final days. She raised the flask, the sharp scent of whiskey cutting through the salt air. The tumor was a black knot deep within, too dangerous to touch, and the water stretched before her, endless and cold. Sarah exists as a medical paradox, a woman sustained by poison, thriving on a substance that embodies both life and death. In the final moment, her two children race ahead on the sun-bleached shore, their laughter carrying on the salt air. She watches them with a fragile smile, then brings a silver flask to her lips for a small, necessary sip. Science has a name for this one-in-a-billion aberration, but no explanation for the unnatural bargain that keeps her alive. But the deeper mystery remains unanswered. Is Sarah a glimpse of some strange evolutionary leap, or is she a chilling reminder of how fragile our biology truly is? She moves among us, appearing perfectly ordinary while hiding something profoundly unsettling. But inside, she is a creature of the deep, forever caught between two worlds, a living testament to the most terrifying truth of all. The black screen holds for a beat, heavy with implication. Narrator, that sometimes the thing that saves you is the very thing that makes you a monster. Outro music begins to fade in, a melancholic and haunting melody.